Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today is one heck of a day. Probably one of the most, if not the, capital T-H-E, anticipated day in recent Canadian politics. This is wild. There has been so much buildup. A whole nation has been blue-balled for a very long time. Is it over? Is Justin Trudeau going to resign? What's happening? What's going on? Are they going to kick him out? Is he going to step down? Are we going to have an election? There's a lot of questions circulating, and I've actually got some answers for you. Before we start today's stream, I do want to, first and foremost, give a shout out to my daughter's birthday. It's her second birthday today. I may or may not have glitter on my face. We celebrated this morning upstairs, and so happy birthday, sweetie. Next, I want everybody to like the stream. Help it push out further. Then I want to make sure that everyone is subscribed so that we can actually grow this channel, continue growing this channel, and then let's get into it. So, Justin Trudeau. What is going on? Is it the end of Justin Trudeau? Well, we don't know. We don't have all of those answers, or do we? I don't know. The Liberal caucus is meeting today. I put a video out on my extra channel. You may or may not have, oh my God, lots of happy birthdays for my daughter in the chat. Thanks, folks. I appreciate that. Mama Bear did just turn on the stream so that my daughter could see me wish her a happy birthday. So happy birthday, sweetie. She's probably upstairs looking at the phone going, yay. So thanks, everybody. So Justin Trudeau's cabinet is meeting together today. They've already met, actually, because you have this internal revolt. They want him to step down. There was a leaked letter that went out. I did post about it on my extra channel. We're going to talk about it right now. About 30 to 40 MPs want Trudeau to step down. They are fed up. They are fed up with him, as are we. So there's been lots of different things circulating. Proroguing the government. Is that on the table? No, not an option. Let's get that out of all of our heads. Not an option. Justin Trudeau stepping down. Is that on the table? 95%? No, it's not on the table. I'll leave 5% there for a little bit of hopium, but that's not on the table at all. So what the heck is happening? What's going on with this revolt? What are they trying to accomplish? Well, for starters, you have to keep in mind that a lot of these letters, this petition, it started in June or July of this year. Now, this is something the dates matter, right? Semantics extremely matter in politics. Does anyone care to answer, raise their hand in the class as to who knows what has happened on several occasions between June or July of this year to date? Let's do a little bit of a Dora the Explorer. You're right. 2, not 1, not 3, but 2 votes of non-confidence have been put forward. And not a single rogue Liberal MP has voted in favor of non-confidence yet. Now, some of them just admitted yesterday that they are prepared to vote in favor of non-confidence. Is it enough to make a difference? I don't know. I don't have those answers. I don't know if it's enough to make that, that difference for it to be favorable, but that's what they're going to be talking about today. Is Justin Trudeau scared of his Liberal MPs voting in favor of non-confidence? No. Justin Trudeau doesn't care if an election happens today. He doesn't care if an election happens in 1 year from now. You see, in Justin Trudeau's world, everything that he is doing is to better this country. Every policy he's put in place, every tax he's implemented, everything he's done is, in his eyes, for the greater good of Canada. And Canadians, either today, yesterday, or tomorrow, or sometime in the future, will realize that what Justin Trudeau is doing is positive. That's what goes through Justin Trudeau's mind. So he will not be stepping down. The government will not be prorogued. That none of that is going to happen. The only thing that could happen is the rogue MPs voting in favor of non-confidence. But that doesn't scare Justin Trudeau. Now, there's a lot of other moving parts that's also happening. You have pensions. you have certain members' pensions that are eligible coming up, that are eligible as, like early October of next year, which is why you've seen the election date move, I think, twice, right? So it's been pushed back like 7 to 10 days from where it originally was. So it has changed. And that also is because of different religious groups, holidays, and things like that. So there's a lot of moving parts on this, but just know if there's any takeaway from this video, from what's going on, Justin Trudeau is not scared of an election. He's not stepping down. He's going to run. So that's firm, that's concrete. They're not shutting down government. None of that is happening. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but take it from a guy who loves to say it's over. It's not over, not yet. So what would happen if they did vote in favor of non-confidence? Well, we don't know exactly how many Liberal MPs are willing to revolt publicly. We don't even know how many would actually push their vote towards in favor of non-confidence should they be pushed into that position. It's all talk right now. It's all just, these people haven't even come forward. They don't even have all the names of 30 to 40 MPs. So you're telling me that they're going to sit next to their colleagues and vote against Justin Trudeau publicly? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, but I feel like this has been taken by the media, and it's been spun into something that just likely isn't going to happen in the way that a lot of people are thinking. But let's take a look here at what has happened so far this morning, because they have met, they are addressing reporters, and this is all happening before question period. So yesterday, you had Pierre say to Justin Trudeau's face for the first time and he acknowledged the fact that 30 to 40 MPs are trying to revolt against him, which is a pretty good strategy to do. This has been made public by Liberals and by the media, but I really believe that it's in the Conservatives' best interest to really lean into that, right? If your enemy has, a wound, you want to dig your thumb in and hurt them in that already existing wound a little bit more. So let's take a look at what has happened this morning, and then we're going to go from there.
Is Scott Reid. He's CTV's political analyst. Scott, good morning to you. So many questions. All right, so we now know one MP at least, well, maybe two, Ken McDonald from Newfoundland and Labrador, who said that he is part of this movement, that there are many MPs who are nervous about the future of the party, especially after the losses in those two by-elections. What are you expecting today to look like when the Prime Minister goes face-to-face with those within his party who are, organizing this revolt against his leadership?
Yeah, well, to your point with respect to Ken McDonald, there does seem to be an emerging consensus that a lot of the opposition in terms of caucus members is concentrated heavily in the Atlantic region. So you've heard even about the Atlantic caucus chair possibly being among the people that will be standing up. We know already Wayne Long from New Brunswick. So we'll watch for all of that. There's a million things to watch today. Most people are treating this like it's going to be an explosion. I think the challenge for the Prime Minister is that today might just be the lighting of the fuse. And so even if 20, 25, 30 members of Parliament get up and politely say, Prime Minister, I think you should reflect on whether or not you should be leading us in the next election. We're worried the Canadians are tuning you out. We're worried that there isn't a plan to make us competitive again. I think the Prime Minister will conclude by saying, listen, we had an open discussion. I listened to them, but the majority of caucus want us to stop arguing, want us to stop fighting internally and focus our fight against Pierre Poilievre. And this chapter is now closed. We heard him out, and now it's done. They're a minority. They're not the majority. The majority rule, and we're going to go forward and fight. I just don't know if that's sustainable, though. If you are the caucus leader, if you are the leader of the party, if you're the Prime Minister, and 20, 30 members of your government say, I'd like you to leave, and you know in your heart that probably another 20, 30, 40 feel the same, but don't have the courage to say so to your face, how do you plausibly say, I'm in a good spot? So I think that's what I'm going to be watching for, the Prime Minister's reaction and what it signals for the days and weeks going forward.
Okay, as you and I have discussed many times over the years, you've known Justin Trudeau for a long, long time. The scenario that you just described, is that what you expect to happen today? Is that what you think Justin Trudeau will do in terms of a reaction?
Yes, I'll be very surprised if the Prime Minister doesn't treat this day with a certain degree of neutrality and calm. I don't think you're going to see them lash out. I don't think you're going to see a big fight. I think Mark Miller was a little off script when he called the concerns of caucus members who would like to see the Prime Minister leave garbage. I think the Prime Minister strike a different tone. I think his tone will be finality. I think his desire is to express finality on this. And so he'll say, I listen to people, and it wasn't easy, but, you know, that's part of the job, and I respect their views. I'm not going to go on some, wild campaign of punishment. I listen to them. I respect their views, but they're the minority, and the majority want us to move forward and focus on poilievre. These questions and concerns with respect to my leadership are over. I'm leading the party in the next election. I think that's what he will say. I think that's what he will do. I think their determination is to try to make today a showdown and then conclude it. I just don't know that if 20, 30 members of your caucus want you to leave, that you can walk away from that and say, that's a basis upon which to conclude anything.
Okay, big if, uppercase, if he were to step aside, Scott, then what?
People keep asking me this question, Marcia, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to speculate. But okay, let's rip it.
What then? What happens?
What would happen if he actually...
Yeah.
Right. If he stepped aside?
Yep.
Well, it would be high drama then. So we'd be plunged into a leadership race. He'd write a letter to the president of the Liberal Party of Canada saying, I intend to leave. Please organize a leadership convention. He would stay on as Prime Minister, a member of Parliament, until that race is concluded. A big question would be whether they would feel it's only prudent to prorogue the House so they don't face the prospect of getting defeated in the House of Commons because somebody miscalculated votes when, 4 or 5 cabinet ministers are off campaigning across the country among Liberals for the leadership. So, I mean, there's a whole pile of questions that emerge. I want to say this as crystal clear as I can. I do not expect that. I will come on here. I will eat my Queen's University ball cap if the Prime Minister comes today to the mics and says, that's it, I'm done I got wrestled to the mat and I quit. It ain't going to happen.
And you know what, Scott? We don't want to see that. We don't want to see you eat that cap.
I'll eat anything, man. Like, look at me. I love to eat.
Oh, man. Okay. Scott, stay close. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, if Justin Trudeau actually resigns today, I'll donate like $10,000 to the chat's most picked charity. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. They're not forcing Trudeau to step down. So that was earlier this morning. Now, we're going to take a look at what has happened since then, because they've, some MPs have been questioned before they had their Liberal meeting, and then now they're filing out and they're being questioned after the meeting. And so, he said that Justin Trudeau is going to be very neutral today. He's going to be very happy. On my other monitor, I just saw Justin Trudeau, and I'll show you guys in a few moments, right? I'll show you guys what happened. But Justin Trudeau walked out of the Liberal meeting with a big smile on his face, walking down the hallway, all happy, like nothing is going on. And that's kind of what today is about. I'm surprised the media is actually spinning this hard into it, but hey, it is what it is. Take it from the guy who's said it's over many times. It's not over today. It's just not over. Here, let's take a look at this.
Of course, for the ones who don't stop to talk to us, it's hard to know the motives for that. But for the ones who did stop to talk, there was a definite kind of skew in favor of having confidence in the Prime Minister, only a couple of voices sort of on the other side of the ledger. But I can also tell you, it's kind of interesting, actually. Where I'm sitting here in the foyer, I am looking north towards the river. The windows to the caucus room are just in front of me, and they're out washing all the windows today. And it struck me as a metaphor for what today is about, because this is ultimately, they've been talking about a day to listen to each other. I think it's also a day to see clearly what's in front of this caucus and what is happening out there in the minds of Canadians. And we heard from MPs on their way in, about what they have been hearing and the anxiety and the worries and what they want to position this party as going forward into battle with Pierre Poilievre's Conservative Party. And to the extent that they are not kind of comfortable that they're there yet in terms of their positioning and the message they have for Canadians, I think ultimately that is what is driving this conversation. In a sense, we're not ready, we have to do something, but the what of what to do, I think very much remains to be seen, and that's what we're going to see them grappling with when they come out.
Okay, Janice, we'll check in with you throughout the show. Caucus is set to break really at any point, maybe around noon. And so we're going to bring you live reaction from the Liberals as they leave the meeting. And watching alongside us, all of this, is our Aaron Weary and our chief political correspondent, Rosemary Barton. So, Rosie, I spoke to some people last night. We have a little bit of new information, but to set the stage of what we anticipated was going to happen today, there was a meeting of some of the MPs who were behind this across the river in Gatineau. And the plan was today, they're going to go in to caucus, which started around 10 o'clock Eastern time. And about a dozen of them are expected to stand up and say to the Prime Minister's face, we want you to go. This is our request. And here are our reasons why. So that was the general idea. Tell them how many people were named. We have information from our colleague Louis Blouin right now that some details are leaking out there.
Yeah, that it is now known, I guess, inside that meeting, according to Louis, that 24 people have signed, 24 MPs have signed this letter. He also tells us that one person has asked for a secret ballot vote, which is something you had been reporting on, which is not a mechanism that is required at all. So that would have to be something that everyone would agree to, namely the Prime Minister. But the conversation has started in earnest about some of the concerns that this group of MPs has had. We should say that there are MPs also talking about how they support the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. It's not really clear to me what that energy is like inside the room as people emerge and tell us things that they shouldn't tell us. We'll get a sense of what it was like and what he did. But what we know about how the Prime Minister was approaching today was that he was going to go in listening mode. It's not unlike what happened back at the London caucus retreat, where at that same retreat, this was even before the by-election losses and the polls being as bad as they are, there were a couple of people, some of the same names that we've seen now, saying that they thought he should go. And he listened to them, he took the information and said he would respond. And I think that's, to your point, what is the most important. He's going to listen to these people, mm-hmm. And then he's going to have to respond and react in some way, because there is an acknowledgement, I think, in the Prime Minister's office that some things have not happened quickly enough, namely naming the campaign director. No,
this is true, and they've kind of functioned like a majority because of the supply and confidence agreement, and without the urgency of a declining popularity party in a minority government situation. Aaron, the number, 24. When I got my first bits of information about this a couple of Fridays ago, 20 to 24 was the number that I've been hearing. Others have suggested it maybe have grown to 30.
30 to 40.
That's the case. What do you make of this? More than 20 MPs is still a lot, but as a share of the total caucus, it's not enormous.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can say at this point this is the most serious challenge Justin Trudeau has faced since he became Liberal leader in 2013. Mm-hmm. I think the question remains how serious it is. I think the revolt, if that's what we want to call it, is probably suffering at this point from a bit of pregame hype, in that people were talking about numbers in the 30s and the 40s, and so if it comes in at 24, it looks like it maybe was at the low end of projections. Mm-hmm. That said, 24 MPs coming out against the Prime Minister is not great for the Prime Minister. That is a pretty significant blow. It's not obviously anything you would want going into any kind of re-election campaign. I think the other question, though, is, based on some of what you've reported, is how many of these MPs are willing to put their name to it. 24 is a sizable number, but how many of them are willing to actually stand behind it?
Yeah.
I think there were some people who took offense at Mark Miller's comments yesterday, calling this garbage. But I think the second part of his comment about, every moment spent on this is a moment not spent on prosecuting the case against Pierre Poilievre, I think that's fairly indisputable. And so now we're in a situation where the Prime Minister doesn't seem inclined to leave. We have this revolt of maybe 24 MPs, but we don't know whether that's going to get pushed any further or whether that's actually going to force him out. Yeah. So what exactly happens next, and how much longer does this go on before one side decides to move on and sort of actually start worrying about re-election.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we can call this a revolt, because if there's no or else after your ultimatum and your request for him to go, then it's more agitation and it's unrest. A revolt is what Chuck Strahl and Deb Grace.
So there is a
or
else. There has been a or else. The or else that just came out in the past couple of days has been, if you don't step down, if you don't comply, if we don't put up a vote right now, then the or else is that we are going to vote in favor of non-confidence. That has been the threat. Now, will this actually happen? Look, again, this has been going on since June or July of this year. You know, it started off as 10, maybe 12 MPs, Liberal MPs that have been, started this petition, started their little de facto group, and there's been 2 votes of non-confidence since then. Not a single time did any Liberal MP stand up, even the one who started this. We have no idea who is at the center of this revolt. There's a leader. There's always a leader. It didn't just unanimously, or like it didn't just spring into people's feeds and then they're like, oh, okay, I guess we're all starting this at the exact same time. There's a certain MP who started this. Even this person who started this since June or July this year has had 2 times the opportunities to vote in favor of non-confidence. That would have shocked the world. That would have been, all right, you're freaking serious. Let's listen to your demands, right? But that is not what has happened. So a lot of this is just people puffing up their chests, looking for media attention, and it's self-preservation, which is something that the media is failing to talk about right now. These Liberal MPs are going through what's called self-preservation, that they are trying to, they see, you got diehard Liberals supporters that are saying, look, man, we don't agree with Justin Trudeau. We've been Liberals our entire lives. We've supported Trudeau. We've supported Liberals, but we just can't do it anymore. It's getting crazy. So you've got people in certain ridings that have, the majority of those ridings have gone from Liberal support to maybe NDP and maybe even Conservative, and you've got these people that are saying, all right, we don't support Justin Trudeau. It's called self-preservation. That's what this is. If they were serious about going against Justin Trudeau, you sons of guns have had 2 opportunities. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you, right? Or whatever the hell the saying is. Come on, dude. Come on. Why isn't the media talking about this?
I think that's probably where it kind of remains. All right, we're going to bring in Catherine Cullen now as the host of CBC Radio's The House. So Catherine, what's the latest that you're hearing from sources you've been talking to and just today?
Yeah, well, earlier David Janis talked about this idea that there was a mood of resolve. I spoke to an MP yesterday, somebody who, frankly, not a real fan of the Prime Minister's, but not one of the folks who signed this letter, who said they were feeling sick to their stomach, actually, about this, that despite some very real frustration with the Prime Minister in caucus, at the same time, political parties are something of a family, and the tension around this is difficult for some people. I spoke to another MP who, again, has plenty of criticism for the Prime Minister, but also felt that the Liberals are indeed shooting themselves in the foot with this effort, that this sort of messy, semi-public, or, I mean, look at what we're doing right now, in some ways, very public display is really counterproductive. And this individual said they intended to get up at the microphone and sort of, have it out to some extent with the folks who are pushing this, said that they were not asked to do this by the Prime Minister's office, hadn't had those kinds of conversations, but did really want to push back against what is happening here. I would also pick up on something Aaron said there about the argument that Mark Miller was making that they're not prosecuting the case against Pierre Poilievre while they're doing this. I would just say the counter argument to that by the Liberals I speak to who are most frustrated with what's happening right now is that they're still not prosecuting the case against Pierre Poilievre, that the whole reason that some of this pushback is happening is a lack of satisfaction, a deep frustration within caucus that the Prime Minister, both himself as a sort of salesperson for the Liberal Party, is really struggling right now, but also that there just haven't been enough moves made. You talked earlier about the national campaign director. I mean, who amongst us has not heard about ads, right? The Liberal MPs have been hearing for what? They tell you 2 years now internally that there were going to be attack ads against Pierre Poilievre basically since he won the leadership, and they're not seeing them. So I think some of the press back is, well, you aren't doing an effective job prosecuting that case, and that's why we feel we need a change.
Yeah, Rosie Catherine took this exactly where I wanted to go, right? On that point that why aren't we focusing on Pierre Poilievre? And Caucus was saying, why aren't you focusing on Pierre Poilievre? And the argument that's coming out too is like, this is a conversation we need to have in caucus. Well, they've been trying to have this conversation in caucus since Toronto St. Paul, and it hasn't happened. So sort of the arguments pushing back against the unrest are undermined by the actions and lack of actions from the people who are making them, right?
Listen, I'm not sure how many times the Prime Minister and his office need to learn the lesson about communication with caucus, but apparently the answer is more than once. This is a long-standing problem for this office and for this Prime Minister. And in spite of the many different things it has tried to do, including putting caucus liaison people in place, MPs in place, it continues to come up against the fact that if you don't actually respond to caucus concerns in a serious way, they will continue to create problems for you. I mean, this is
I agree with that. I agree. So what I speculate has happened is Justin Trudeau has said, look, folks, we can all get something out of this that we want, but you're not going to continue. You're not going to have the support of the Liberal Party if you continue down this path, right? Justin Trudeau believes that what he is doing, keep this in mind, man, he's the most... when you're talking about video games, right, there's like different levels, and then there's the final boss. Justin Trudeau is the final boss of narcissism. He's the guy that stands at the end of that road. He truly believes that it's Canada's first priority to fight climate change by taxing Canadians, right? That he truly believes that. It's not a joke. It's not a gimmick to him. It's not a grift. He, to his core, believes that if Canada actually, in his perfect world, if we all stop driving gasoline and diesel powered vehicles and we all switch to electric instantly, that we're going to see massive differences in our climate. That's what Justin Trudeau believes. And so if we had it his way, if we gave, I'm not suggesting we ever should, but if the world just poof, Canada just poof, immediately became the version of what Justin Trudeau wanted it to be, it would not have the same results as what Justin Trudeau wants. He's stuck on this is what needs to happen, and this is going to be no matter what the outcome. Dude, you can plan for anything in life, and more than 90% of what you plan for, it's not the outcome that's provided. You don't have control over how people are going to react. You don't have control over the weather. Taxing people like that is just not going to solve what you think it's going to solve. He's going to get rich doing it. He's going to get rich. So Justin Trudeau firmly believes that, though, which is crazy. We all know that he's a narcissist. And so, like, he's going to put everyone in their place today. That's what's happened. He's not letting this phase him at all. I just saw him walk down the hallway of Parliament. Again, we're going to take a look at that in a few moments here. He wasn't phased. He didn't, look the other way. He didn't seem agitated at all. This is just a nothing burger to Trudeau. So, like, he's he's taking it seriously by giving them the time of day and allowing them to express their concerns. And he's going to give them that validation, or he gave them that validation since it's already happened. Let's use the appropriate tense here. But again, when it comes to addressing the nation, he's not the kind to air his dirty laundry like that, right? Like, just politically speaking, he's not gonna, say, well, this person said that and that person said that. Look, he's a lifelong politician. Like, he has more experience than the most experienced Liberal member or than the most experienced politician in Canadian history. Like, his father was Prime Minister. He's Prime Minister. He's got the resume of a lot of experience. That's not me saying he's qualified for the job. I don't think that he's good at all. I don't think that he's a good Prime Minister. But in terms of being a politician, being a liar, being, a condescending narcissist, all those things that politicians, that it shouldn't be a prerequisite to be a politician, but that are, because being a politician these days is greasy, right? He fits that bill to the T, right? And so, I don't agree with how he goes about it. But again, he's handling the pressure in the way that Justin Trudeau handles all pressure. He's not letting it phase him at all, which, again, is something that the media is not even talking about. It's crazy.
Also, typically kind of liberal problem too, right? Like, this is what liberals do. They get frustrated, upset with their leader, and then they start leaking things about it and going so far as the things you've said. I think if there was a sign today that there were ads coming, I think if they could point to the fact that the campaign director's in place and they have a strategy for the next few months, I think that would go some way to reassuring some people. But remember, this is in many ways a problem of their own making. You do get the sense that the Prime Minister is very committed to his job. But that there hasn't been an enormous amount of focus on how to keep him in his job. And I think that's a problem. I will also say, though, that last week his testimony in front of the inquiry, where he went after Pierre Poilievre very hard on the issue of security clearance, was welcomed by many MPs that I talked to. They thought that was a sign of life and a sign of what he can do if he's put in the right circumstances and situation. I think what happens today is kind of like the last warning, really, for the Prime Minister. He and his team are going to have to try and provide this energy that...
No, see, I disagree with that. Again, this isn't the last warning to Justin Trudeau. The final warning to Justin Trudeau would be if there was a vote of non-confidence and these, rebel MPs would basically vote in favor of non-confidence. That would be red alert, DEFCON 17. We're going crazy, right? Like, everybody, we need to focus on collateral damage now. It hasn't reached that level yet. I'm not even sure that we know the names of half of these MPs, these rebel MPs. And so I really, until they come forward as their own little group and do a press conference in front of Parliament and then vote after a vote in favor of non-confidence, I don't think that this is as intense as what the media is trying to say it is. Look, that's just coming from the guy who's abused the words. It's over. All right. Like, let's all calm down a little bit. Let's all calm down a little bit. I do have, what time is it? 41. I do have, let's see here, some videos of the, of MPs being approached after the cabinet meeting. Let's take a look at that here. This is going to be a spicy day, no matter how we look at it, because Pierre's definitely going to be leaning into this. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is them walking into the cabinet meeting.
My message, and I know my colleagues share this, all of us are very, very committed to working hard for Canadians, and Canadians expect us to do this work. So, we're going to have a good, robust conversation at caucus like we do every week.
Have you been talking to your colleagues? What do you support that? What do you say to the dissenters? What do you say to that?
I look forward to this morning's meeting. I think this is an important conversation to have amongst caucus, to have behind closed doors. And I look forward to everything that we're about to discuss, frankly. It's important.
What do you think the MPs need to reassure you? You know that he's still the right person for the job.
Yeah.
What are these other things
I think it's important that we hear from the Prime Minister, obviously, his vision and his commitment as we look forward to the future. I know myself with our national school food program, $10 a day daycare, focus on these priorities that are really important to Canadian families and delivering on these priorities.
Committed to run in the next federal election if the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is there.
Are you going to
That's
put
the bottom line.
on your campaign poster?
You know what? No party has made a fine art out of character assassination in the Conservative Party. And at the end of the day, once we get into an election, we'll take off the veil of Mr. Pierre Poilievre, and I believe that Mr. Trudeau will be back in his government.
On your campaign poster?
The Prime Minister will always be on my posters, and he's welcome in Winnipeg North anytime. With a beautiful name like Lamoureux, you would think I speak French. I'm sorry.
Do you think a secret vote would be a good option during the caucus meeting today to let people...
About Pierre Poilievre? Absolutely.
They're deflected.
Qui opèrent en secret pour faire signer un document. Est-ce que c'est constructif d'après vous? Est-ce qu'ils ont le droit de s'exprimer?
Ce qui est constructif, baiser d'une moitié, c'est qu'on va 100%. The Prime Minister is our leader. That's a leader who I support 100%. Thank you very much.
Will you support...
So all of the name brand Liberal MPs, all of the main Liberal MPs, they're all saying the exact same thing, that we support Justin Trudeau, we're going to run in the next election with him, and he's going to defeat Pierre Poilievre. They're all saying the exact same thing, and it's not a coincidence, right? Now, the ones that are rebelling, they're hiding in the shadows, right? Some have come forward a little bit. A few have come forward, right? I'll give them that. But again, it's rumored that there's 30 to 40 of them. Why are they not doing their own press conference outside? I mean, that would break Canadian headlines, right? You talk about, they could say, hey, look, we've started a petition within government. You know, we're yes, we are Liberals, but we don't think Justin Trudeau should be Prime Minister anymore. Let's get a petition going. Like, if they were serious about this, then why not do that? For crying out loud, I'm in my basement and I've got a petition going. I'm more serious about changing policy in Canada than these rat Liberals that are pretending to rebel. You kidding me? You work in Parliament. You tell your assistant to start a Our Commons petition to freaking kick Trudeau out of being a Prime Minister, and you're going to get millions of votes. Pierre Poilievre is going to circulate that. Look, oh my God, he's going to take that to the bank, man. Holy smokes. I'll print that off right here. I'll print it off and I'll frame it if the Liberals started their own petition to oust Justin Trudeau. Are you kidding me? That shows that you're taking a real step forward, not this secret letter that's going internally. Do an actual Our Commons petition. I did a freaking petition. I took the time to find the right words to go through the process to make a petition happen. They don't even need to do that. They themselves can start a petition. Are you kidding me? You want to be taken seriously? Come on, man. Come on. What the hell is this? Sorry for those with headphones. My bad. Come on, man. Come on. I'm being serious.
A mechanism, a secret vote today to let the MPs maybe vote on the leadership. Do you think that could be constructive?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have to read the room. There's all sorts of wheels within wheels. Oh, sorry about that. All sorts of wheels within wheels turning right now. So yeah, I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to make my mind a blank and just soak it all in.
What are your constituents saying?
You know what?
The Prime Minister, when you go door to door, what do they say?
Nothing.
They don't talk to you?
They don't. In the hundreds of contacts I've had 2 people bring it up, and it's all to do with immigration, being where I'm from, right? So yeah, no, I don't know if we're unique. I'd like to think so.
So do you want to see the Prime Minister stay on?
I'm not going to say anything about that until I have my say in there. All right, thanks, guys. Huh? He's a great guy. Totally. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of loyalty there.
To Canadians and to representing the Liberal values than Justin Trudeau. Absolutely.
Are you going to have campaigns on your posters?
That's up to the campaign team to decide that.
And this should be a no-brainer. We've been having this
It's not the first time.
Faire signer ce document-là. On a parlé à des gens qui nous ont dit l'avoir signé. C'est constructif, c'est une distraction. Qu'est-ce que vous pensez?
Regarde, on est en train d'aller pour caucus pour avoir une conversation robuste sur les enjeux qui préoccupent les gens. Regarde, moi, je suis pour l'avenir. Je suis entièrement légitime. On est parce que
Looking for the English.
Palace drama. Some rough math last night. Look, there's what would you call it, some palace drama going on right now, and that takes us away from the number one job, which is
going after Pierre,
focusing on the important policies, but also on showing the really clear contrast between our government, our party, and Pierre Poilievre. I did some rough math last night, and a family in Edmonton with one kid in daycare would be $20,000 worth off under a Pierre Poilievre government.
What are you going to tell your caucus saying when you go door to door? What do they say?
They want the Liberal Party to win. I'm on the doors all the time.
Do they say they want
No, they don't want to. They want us to focus on them, to focus on delivering results, and to have a damn fine campaign. And so that's what we have to get ready for. And look, we got to start punching back. We got to let people know who Pierre Poilievre really is. And he's not the Pollyanna guy that you see on CBC ads this week.
Okay.
He is much more nasty and much more dangerous to Canadians, and that's what our party and our government
Vous êtes pas prêt dans la préparation électorale, que le plan de match n'est pas clair, que le Parti libéral est en retard. Alors, qu'est-ce que vous répondez à ça? Est-ce qu'ils ont raison?
Ce sont des craintes.
We're going to go in there and we're going to have an excellent discussion, and we are going to emerge united because we have work to do for the Canadian people.
How do you
Keep in mind, folks, you don't like Trudeau, likely if you're watching this. I don't like Justin Trudeau or the Liberals, right? But there is a lot of support out there. We have to think about this with some common sense here. There's a lot of support. The polls are showing that Trudeau federally is going to get his butt kicked, horribly. We're going to have a federal conservative majority, according to the projection polls, like we have never seen before. That's phenomenal. But there are a lot, I hate to admit it, but there are a lot of areas that are extremely supportive of Liberals. I mean, look at the most recent provincial election. Was it Newfoundland or Nova Scotia or one of the new somethings? One of the East Coast provinces, right? They just elected a Liberal premier, the first ever female premier at that, right? And so there's some places that are still, and that used to be, if I'm not mistaken, a conservative. It used to have a conservative premier. So there's some places, man, that are just eating and drinking their own Kool-Aid and crap, right? There's a lot of Liberal support out there. I hate to admit it, but there is a lot of Liberal support out there.
Emerge united. What is the Prime Minister? How does the Prime Minister quell this?
This is a meeting of our caucus in order for people to express their views. We are a party of big ideas and a party that accepts different points of view. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
But some of these members, but some of your members are going to be asking the Prime Minister to resign. That's way more than expressing ideas. So how does the Prime Minister deal with the question that about 20 of his MPs want him out of the job?
Well, let's have the conversation. We haven't had the conversation yet, so we're really looking forward to, again, having the opportunity for people to express their viewpoints. That is a fundamental premise of the Liberal Party. That is a fundamental premise of how we do business. And I would like to say also that the Prime Minister has entrusted in me 4 large portfolios, from procurement to defense to Treasury Board and now transport. And I personally am looking forward to continuing that work for Canadians under his leadership.
Do you have a
controversy what it might be doing to fundraising for the Liberal Party? Pardon me? Are you worried about what this controversy might mean for fundraising for the Liberal Party?
Actually, I have been fundraising myself over the past little while, and it's going very well. And I'm also having a fundraiser coming up in November, and that's also going really well. So the microcosm case for the bigger question that you're asking is actually fundraising is going extremely well, and we will continue under the leadership of Justin Trudeau.
That's weird to use this time to talk about her fundraising. That's how serious this is, folks. It's over for them, but hey, our fundraiser's coming up. For crying out loud.
Our caucus, in order for people
It's being circulated. Have you signed? Have those meetings?
I think these conversations need to happen inside the caucus room. Caucus confidentiality should stay, and we need to have all these conversations, whatever we hear from our constituents, within those rooms.
to.
Oui, bien sûr, elle a toute ma confiance.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez de la démarche de ces
Oh, New Brunswick election is the premier, yeah.
De la réunion de ce caucus, elle va avoir la confiance du
Vous
caucus.
présenter la prochaine campagne?
Elle va avoir la confiance du caucus, je vous confirme
Est-ce
ça.
que vous allez vous présenter la campagne?
Absolument.
Est-ce que vous allez mettre son...
Yeah, so he supports Trudeau.
C'est quelque chose
Quelque chose.
qu'on a l'intention d'en discuter au niveau
Avez-vous confiance? Avez-vous...
bienveillant.
Il y a la possibilité qu'il y a un scrutin secret qui circule. Il y a des députés qui mettent
Démesuré, même pas venir de ça. La source, c'est que des membres soient tous.
Ok, c'est tout français.
Puis moi,
Everything that's happening in your caucus, is this hurting your prime minister? Is it hurting your government?
I think it's not. I mean, it's normal for people to have debate and to have discussions. I think this is the place where we should be having them.
But 30 MPs about less than a year out before a scheduled election, is that normal?
I don't actually know how many MPs have signed this. I haven't seen it. We know of 3 of them, but the vast majority of the Liberal caucus support the Prime Minister. I support the Prime Minister.
Before an election, is that going to be enough to say the vast majority? Shouldn't the Prime Minister have a full, everyone in his caucus should be supporting him if you're going to have him as your leader going into an election?
As I said, the vast majority of caucus supports the Prime Minister, and we're behind him to get ready to continue serving Canadians, and we'll see when the next election comes.
Que le caucus soit déchiré à la fin de cet exercice-là.
This is the thing about the Liberals, right? A lot of them are like properly media trained. They're properly media trained. Look, and that's not me agreeing with their message at all, but they are not interested in on camera airing their dirty laundry. And what took place in the meeting is that you're going to see, look at I hope you're focusing, everybody. I hope you're focusing. I hope you're not just listening in the background. Focus on the demeanor of people. Focus on the rhetoric. These are all the main MPs that are being talked to right now from the Liberals. This is as they are going into this cabinet meeting. What we're about to take a look at in a moment is on the way out of the cabinet meeting. And it's like they walked into a brainwashing session and they come out and they're like, yes, oh no, Justin Trudeau is great. Justin Trudeau, beep, boop, pop, pop, right? So they got put in their place. And this is what's keeping the Liberal cabinet alive right now, politically speaking. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But this is politics. I don't agree that this should be politics. I don't agree that this is how it should be going. I think that we should be more transparent. But this is liberal politics right here.
Un problème d'unité à la fin.
Non, moi, je ne suis pas inquiet de ça. Je pense que certaines personnes ont fait connaître, trois députés ont fait connaître leur opinion publiquement, mais ces mêmes personnes ont dit, bon, si le premier ministre reste, nous, on ne va pas quitter. Alors, je pense qu'à la fin de cette rencontre-là, on va pouvoir tourner la page.
Est-ce que les députés mécontents devraient partir, devraient quitter le pays?
Non. Je pense que dans une famille politique comme la nôtre, c'est normal d'avoir des discussions, c'est normal d'avoir des débats. Je pense que l'endroit où on doit faire ça, c'est dans le caucus. Cela étant, certains ont décidé de faire ça.
So that was all of them filing into the cabinet chit chats, and now let's take a look at them filing out and just focus on how different everything is. Now I just gotta find the right freaking timestamps, man. What a pain. What a pain. What a pain. Some new members. Some new saver with the $2. No message attached. Thank you very much. This just happened, folks. I'm forced right now to go through a live stream footage of CPAC to find the comments that were made in real time on a live stream. It's liveception. Here you go.
Conversation's still going. I just gotta catch a flight.
But can you just clarify?
Oh my God.
So you're just, what was the
Am I the first person to leave this caucus meeting?
What was to clarify, you're saying the Prime Minister is still the Liberal Party leader leaving this caucus, and you're expecting
Did you expect otherwise?
I don't know what to
I don't have control over the volume.
What was the mood like? What was the tone like?
I'm not going to disclose anything that happens in the caucus meeting. I'm happy to say my own views on anything, but I'm not going to
Was this
talk about
helpful?
the emotions or feelings or feedback or experience of colleagues.
Do you feel better leaving this caucus meeting than going in?
I felt pretty good going into the meeting too, but
Do you
yeah,
feel the
it was
party
good.
is united, more united or less united after this meeting?
I'll just speak for myself. Look, I think I said this to the Prime Minister directly in a recorded interview. I think there's obviously a path forward where we take the fight. Last year, the Conservatives spent $9 million on ads. We spent $300,000. Good luck to us fighting that fight. So I think there's absolutely a path forward where the Prime Minister can turn things around. I think if ultimately we throw everything at the wall and he's getting tuned out, that's a different story. I don't think we're there yet. And I think it was a constructive conversation today. But like we gotta stop the palace intrigue. And we got to focus on what's most important. Consider this as an example, okay? So this old age security debate, the Bloc is like, oh, let's increase it by $3 billion. You know that already OAS accounts for one of every $7 that the federal government spends? You also know that a seniors couple, $90,000 each that they earn, $180,000 overall. You know how much they get? $17,000 in taxable benefits. And we want to give them more money? We're not even having that debate. I know! We can't even have that debate.
Is the palace intrigue done after today?
I think we're still likely to have a few conversations after today. You wouldn't be surprised to learn, I hope.
Was a letter
Did the Prime Minister say he's staying on, or is he leaving?
I'm not going to disclose what happened at caucus.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, you can ask him when he comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll stop for us the way you are.
I don't know.
If you think the palace intrigue isn't done, so you think this is still going to be a distraction you have to deal with? Some MPs asking
I don't
for
know
him
that
to
it'll be
resign?
the same distraction, but we got to put aside that distraction and we got to focus on, I think, the real debates. Look, this morning I did a radio interview and we talked partly about the palace intrigue, but also at the end of the day, this is not just a referendum on Justin Trudeau. I know that's how the Conservatives want to cast it. That's an interesting thing to write. This is ultimately going to be a choice between Conservatives and Liberals in the election. It's going to be a choice between Pierre Poilievre and probably Justin Trudeau, but the Liberal leader. And that's going to be a very important choice for Canadians to make in terms of the direction of the country. And that's the conversation that we should be having.
But what's changed after this meeting? What's changed?
I'm not going to disclose that.
What's changed after this meeting?
What's your main takeaway from that meeting?
My contribution to the meeting is what I can speak to. And my contribution to the meeting is that I think it's really important when you have so many colleagues that are expressing frustration. I've expressed frustration over the years at different times. It's very important that feedback is listened to. It's very important that ultimately there are some changes to respond to that. And it's very important that the trust is re-earned of those caucus colleagues.
And was it? Sorry.
What do you mean? Was it
the trust
in the course of an hour and a half? Where look, people are expressing their opinions in that meeting, and that's the point of a caucus meeting. And then it's up to the Prime Minister to reflect on everything he's heard and to come back to caucus not only with a plan, but also to express to caucus how have my colleagues been listened to, and what is he going to do to make sure that they feel.
Should this have happened sooner?
Like they're keeping a tight lid on it, man. They are keeping a tight lid on it. This is very, very, very interesting. We want the nitty-gritty details, and he is just not giving it to us. Holy smokes.
Should this particular meeting?
Yeah, should this meeting have happened sooner, where MPs can air their grievances and feel heard and listened to?
I mean, that's, one would hope, the goal of most caucus meetings. For me, after St. Paul's, I had conversations with the Prime Minister and let him know. I made public comments afterwards. I've made public comments ever since. So I think there's always an opportunity for colleagues to be heard. I think it's important in this meeting. I'm glad this meeting happened. Whether it could or should have happened earlier,
What
I don't
do you
know.
think some of your colleagues haven't been
Was there any plan that was presented to you guys to reassure you that there is a plan forward?
Well, I'm not going to speak to what happened in caucus.
But do you feel like you are part of the United Caucus?
On this talk with the Prime Minister, is there any plan that you have confidence in that you're going to get through the next election? With him there.
Is there any, sorry, say
Is
again?
there any plan to get you through the next election with him at the helm?
I've spoken to Andrew Bevan. I understand that he has a plan he was intending to deliver today, but obviously other events overran that for good reason. So I have confidence there is a plan. I look forward to discussing it, probably not in front of so many reporters right away, but I look forward to dealing with that plan and speaking to colleagues about that plan.
You said the trust needs to be restored. Whose trust needs to be restored? Is it the dissenters need to win back the trust of their other caucus colleagues, or is it that the Prime Minister needs to regain the trust of all of his caucus?
So my message today was twofold, actually. It was that I think the Prime Minister has to listen to the frustrations, and in some cases really valid frustrations of caucus colleagues, and incorporate that into changes moving forward. Whether those are big changes or small changes or both. And the second thing is my colleagues need to turn the knives outwards and not inwards, and we need to focus on the most important thing, which is getting things done here in Parliament and taking the fight to Pierre Poilievre, because he's a disaster for this country.
And you spoke in caucus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just told you
Yeah.
my
Do
contribution.
you think
That is the only thing I will
Do you
share.
think your message resonated?
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it does, though, so I think so, yeah.
What is he going to tell them to sheathe their knives? You said
What's
it's
that?
time for them to turn the
knives
knives
out.
outward.
Yeah.
Right, but what's he going to offer them to put their knives away?
Well, that's not a question for me, my friend. That's not a question for me.
With so many frustrations, do you feel right now that you are part of a united caucus?
Do you feel the caucus is united?
I mean, not united in that we're all pulling, singing from the same song sheet on every single issue, but certainly united in the sense that we want what's best for this country, and we want to put our best foot forward in the next election.
But are you rowing in the same direction?
So, what more do you have to talk about after today?
You got more people. I gotta catch a flight, but you got more people coming.
Thank you for
They'll have more
talking.
interesting answers, I'm
Are
sure.
you guys done with the internal knifing, though?
I don't know. You gotta ask my colleagues.
Politically speaking, look, if the shoe was on the other foot and if this was happening to the Liberals, that answer right there, like the answers he gave, is pretty damn close to what you would want from any loyal MP. I don't agree with not coming out and giving the nitty-gritty details. I, of course, have a bias. I want the nitty-gritty details, but his beating around the bush, his tiptoeing, if this ever, God forbid, ever happened to Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, that was a A1 class in political verbiage. Like that was decent. I don't like it, but that was pretty decent. So let's take a look at some of the other. There you go. Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun. Sorry, folks, I gave you a little tease. My fault. All right. So it's not muted on my end. It's muted on their end. These are the MPs coming out of the meeting.
Are you united behind the Prime Minister?
We're united in defeating Poilievre next campaign.
Sir, please get an understanding of what happened in caucus.
One thing that we were united on, everybody.
Mr. Garrettson, is caucus united behind the Prime Minister?
There he is. Look at this little swagger.
Is the caucus united behind you?
Liberal Party is strong and you.
They cut him off. There you can see him walk up the stairs. There you go. Liberal Party is strong and united. That's what Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of this country, has just said. They are not showing any cracks in the armor. I think that this is going to plug the leaks, and if there still is any sort of animosity towards Justin Trudeau from internally, then those people may, at a surprise, at a shock to the rest of the cabinet, at the next vote of non-confidence, those people they may, a small likelihood, I'd say 15% likely to stand up and vote in favor of non-confidence. But the plug, or the leak, has been plugged.
Donc c'est fini, il y aura plus de rebelles, il y aura plus de lettres, il y aura plus rien.
No more rebel. There's always people that have different opinions.
Derrière le fait qu'il faut battre Poilievre. S'il y a des changements à faire, c'est peut-être des changements au niveau de la campagne, comment on va la faire, comment on va l'organiser. Mais on est tous unis derrière battre Poilievre.
Dude, French is my first language, and I totally have dropped the ball since learning English. Holy smokes. Okay, from my understanding, not word for word translation, but from my understanding, she just said there's always going to be people in the cabinet that have different opinions, but we're focused on bettering Canada and sticking to our campaign, right? That's pretty much my translation. I don't know, maybe there's some French people down below that can fact check me, but dude, I've dropped the ball since learning English. Oh, that's embarrassing.
Leadership. Mr. Mr. Mandela.
Yeah. So
Et puis, on va gagner la prochaine
we're going to win the next election. That's what he said.
No, I'm saying that we as a party recognize that the real threat here is Pierre Poilievre, and that's what we're fighting for. That's why I came back.
In your opinion, should Trudeau stay on as leader?
Trudeau has made very clear that he feels he's the right choice, and but he appreciates all of what is being said because he's reflecting what is being done across Canada. So I respect.
Okay, hold on. So the girl that spoke in French, she said that they are going to focus on changing their campaigning. So they are changing their campaign. They're going to be changing their strategy, but they're not changing their message. The message is going to stay the same, but the campaign strategy is going to change. We have no idea what that's going to look like. We have no idea of anything else other than something about the campaign is going to change. But that's all. And there were calls, if you remember, if you did see the letter, the red alert notice that I posted about on my extra channel that was circulating on X this morning. I'm not going to read it now, right? Go find it on your own time later on. Yeah, we're going to get to question period in a moment. They did say that the Liberal Party is not modernized. It's not up to date. And so that is what that woman just said. That they're going to be doing some changes, and their tactics are going to be more modern, applicable to probably the younger voters, if I'm being totally honest.
Respect his decision, whatever that may be.
What do you mean? What is being done? Reflecting on what is being done across Canada? What do you mean?
Listen, we have recognized that times are improving. People had a rough road, and economic recovery is there. Social policies are put in place. A lot is threatened if Pierre Poilievre comes into play, and I think people need to understand that. We haven't done a good job of reflecting on what the alternatives can be, and I think that's the real choice.
But can you clarify if you're leaving the caucus with the understanding that the Prime Minister is reflecting on its future, or if the decision
I
is to
am
stay?
telling you that we as a party have to stay united, recognize that the real threat is Pierre Poilievre, and what is going to take place should he become the leader is also a problem.
My question is your understanding that the Prime Minister is reflecting on his future, or that he's
Prime Minister
to stay?
is the man who's in charge, and he'll make whatever decisions he feels right. Right now, he's deciding that his decision is to ensure that we beat Pierre Poilievre as he as a leader. That's what he's saying.
Do you feel like you're more or less united than when you walked into that room?
I think the caucus recognizes that we have to stay united, and that we can't fall prey to the fear-mongering. And listen, the other guys, they can smell blood, they can smell fear. We can't let that be the case, because we got to stand strong. Thank you.
Damn. I hate to admit it, folks. I hate to admit it. Look, I really, really hate to admit this, but this is what separates the Liberal Party, which has a lot of political experience, from other parties. Yes, they've had a leak in the ship. They've just plugged it. And what he just said right there, the sharks can smell blood in the waters, and we have to stay united. And that's what the message was within this cabinet meeting. Look, I don't like it, and chances are you don't like it either, right? We can agree on that. But if the shoe were on the other foot, and you had this happen to the Conservatives, you would only want the Conservatives. You would wish that the Conservatives had this type of an ability to plug the leak and to stop the rhetoric right away about the rebel unit within your cabinet. I don't agree with it, but politically speaking, that was as top tier politics as Canadian politics gets, right? I don't agree with it. I don't like the message. But again, that's what's happened. So to summarize, for those that want an answer, is Trudeau stepping down? No. Are they proroguing the government? No. Is Trudeau going to get voted out? Not yet, right? It depends on what happens with the Bloc's deal for the OAS. They have until October 29th, which is in a few days. If you know, we look at the calendar. So again, will these Liberal de factos, will they stand up and vote in favor of a non-confidence? I don't think so. Not from my understanding, my interpretation of what just happened. But again, my analysis is that there's a 15% likelihood that a few of the founding members of this rebel unit within the Liberal Party may stand up. There's a 15% chance that some of the founding fathers of that little rebel unit that's existed for like 3 months might stand up. But now let's get into question period here, folks. So I want to encourage everyone to hit that like button. We've got almost 1,000 likes. We've got 4,000 people watching, and question period hasn't even, this is the first time we've looked at what's going on in the house. So let's get settled in, get your coffee, get your food ready, get your beers ready, do what you got to do. But you're not going to want to miss a single beat of this, because Pierre and Trudeau are going to be on this House floor, and this is going to be phenomenal.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa-Vanier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's with deep sadness that I rise today to pay tribute to Ethel Cote, who passed away on October 16th after a battle with cancer. Her family paid tribute to her, saying that her unwavering commitment to training, listening, supporting, and above all, inspiring everyone she met left an indelible mark on the lives she touched. A pioneer of the social economy and innovation, she founded many organizations, including Mécènes, and contributed to the training and development of nearly 1,000 community organizations. Founding CEO of La Nouvelle Scène and associate professor at the University of French Ontario, she was recognized for her cooperative and innovative approach and her commitment to a more just and caring society. Designated a UN champion of women's economic empowerment in 2015, she was also awarded the Order of Canada, the Order of Ontario, and the Order of the Pléiade, and a Sapphire Award in 2015. A beloved mother and grandmother, she leaves a huge void in the Franco-Ontarian community and far beyond. My sincere condolences to her family and loved ones. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député d'Outremont.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
This morning, the Bank of Canada cut interest rates by 50 basis points.
Hear, hear.
Bringing interest to just 3.75%, Mr. Speaker. That's
I got a video coming out later this evening
families who need to renew
about that.
It's going to help young people wanting to go
cut.
and buy their first home. It's going to give some breathing room to folks who have debts and loans to repay, making things just a bit easier for them. Lower interest rates, it's good news for Canadian entrepreneurs, for businesses of all sizes, whether they have loans or they don't. And I must say, during Small Business Week, no less, it's great news for our small businesses. Now, I'm not saying that everything is perfect here. I know there are Canadians struggling with affordability. I know that there are global economic instability forces at play, but I also know that there is no better place to be than Canada right now.
That's right.
No better place than Canada. And today, things are made just a little bit easier and a little bit better for the good folks living here.
Hear, hear. The honourable member from Barrie Springwater.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After 9 years of this
Hey, we like this guy.
taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up. Time is up. Just this week, Barrie police arrested a repeat offender in possession of stolen goods only hours after being released on bail. In the past 2 weeks alone, this one offender has been charged with theft 6 times. M. Gao, a Barrie resident, recently wrote into Barrie Today to state that they have lived in Barrie since 1967 and no longer feel safe in our community. They do not feel safe going downtown by themselves anymore, especially after dark. This Prime Minister's catch-and-release bail policies have unleashed a wave of violent crime across the country. This Prime Minister boasts about banning the hunting rifles of law-abiding Canadians instead of targeting the gangsters and gun smugglers that are terrorizing our streets. The Toronto Police Association recently fact-checked the Prime Minister and pointed out that shootings are up 45% and gun-related homicides are up 62% in Toronto. Canadians deserve a common-sense Conservative government that will stop the crime and bring home safe streets.
The honourable member from Brampton North.
Today I stand before you with a profound sense of urgency and concern regarding the alarming revelations about foreign interference in our country. The RCMP's statement regarding the investigation into violent criminal activities linked to the Government of India has brought light to a harsh reality that Sikh Canadians have long feared. As a Member of Parliament representing a vibrant community of people from Sikh and Hindu backgrounds, I recognize the deep ties that bind Canada and India. Yet the chilling evidence presented by the RCMP reveals a betrayal of our shared values. It's unacceptable that foreign agents would operate with impunity on our soil, terrorizing communities and threatening our safety. We have seen extortion, arson, threats, and even loss of life, instilling fear in the South Asian community with the particular targeting of Sikh Canadians. This is unacceptable. Every Canadian deserves to live with safety, free from intimidation and violence, regardless of their beliefs or heritage. Our government has taken significant steps to confront these threats, but we must also stand united as a community, Sikhs and Hindus alike. We cannot allow fear to divide us. We must support one another and advocate for justice, accountability, and the protection of our rights.
The honourable member from Niagara Falls.
Speaker, after 9 years of this NDP Liberal coalition, taxes are up. Costs are up.
Yeah, crime is up, time is up. Look, folks, what I have to say is more important right now to 4,000 people. I'm going to be putting an email down in the live chat, all right? Down in live chat. Make sure that it's from, you're looking at the one from HOC, and it's got the verified check mark next to it. I'm even going to pin it. That email, if you want to be emailed a notification for when that petition goes live, send an email to that email that I just put. It's petition@stopmutingthemic.ca, and you will be added to that list. Let's resume.
Project Share simply to get by. Will the NDP Liberals end their cover-up and provide the order documents to the police so Canadians can have the accountability they so rightly deserve?
Hear, hear. The honourable member from Kenora.
Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time
Stop muting the mic. Yeah, I muted the mic to say that. That's the irony, folks.
The cost of all essentials, including gas, groceries, and home heating. Now, according to an article from the Salvation Army,
that's pretty funny.
In Kenora is challenged just
that's a good one.
Stock on their shelves with rising demand, plus food costs that are making it difficult for people to be able to afford to make donations, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the food bank has been forced to reduce the number of visits per month for each guest. And this will only get worse if this costly coalition quadruples the carbon tax, which will cost Ontario families $1,400 per year in carbon tax alone. Plus, the Parliamentary Budget Officer has once again confirmed that Canadians pay more in the tax than they are getting back in rebates. Mr. Speaker, we know that this government and this carbon tax is not worth the cost, and Canadians want to know when they will have a chance for a carbon tax election so they can vote to axe the tax and bring home lower prices.
Yeah.
The honourable member from Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the recent announcement by the RCMP that agents of the Indian government are involved in serious criminal activity in Canada is deeply troubling. Such actions represent a clear violation of Canada's sovereignty and an attack on the safety of all Canadians, particularly those in the Sikh and South Asian community. We must stand united in condemning these actions in the strongest.
Remember, folks, if you haven't yet already, now's the time to smash that like button.
And we will not tolerate foreign interference or intimidation. I would like to thank the RCMP and all law enforcement agencies for their tireless efforts in uncovering these serious threats and taking decisive action to protect our communities. The safety of all Canadians, regardless of their heritage or political beliefs, must always be protected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, unhoused women, girls, and gender-diverse people who are unhoused are invisible in our country. Being without a home or being precariously housed is different for women. Many find
coffee starting to kick in.
Or on a friend's couch. To make matters worse, as the cost of living increases, more people are left out in the cold. To help, we need vital, person-centered, wraparound services and housing. And Nanaimo Ladysmith Island Crisis Care Society provides these vital supports. I'm so grateful for the incredible work they do, but they cannot do it alone. Life-saving supports are needed. Instead, we've seen federal cuts. The Reaching Home program was slashed, a devastating 60%.
Nice. Good amount of people already sent an email, folks. Holy smokes.
Many in our communities are doing all.
Remember, it's petition at stopmutingthemic.ca.
Investment and leadership now. Thank
Yes.
you,
Hear,
Mr.
hear. It's pinned in the live chat.
The Honourable Member for Drummond. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to offer the Bloc Québécois full solidarity to Marwa Rizki,
Okay, folks.
member of the National
I've said this before. Now, we have an advantage. We have an advantage because we've been streaming for about an hour now. But I've said this before on a live stream. The record number of chats that have ever been sent on a stream here on House of Canada is over... what did I say? Over 26, I think it's 30,000. 30,000 messages have been typed on a previous record-breaking House of Canada question period live stream. Yeah, I'm muting the mic. You don't like it? Sign the petition. And stop Mr. Sunshine from muting the mic. So what I want everyone to do to get prepared, to make sure that everyone's actually awake, is to put some W's down in the chat. Put some W's down in the chat. Put some Canadian flags down in the chat. Put some cha-cha-chas down in the chat. Let's get it going. Let's get the chat going. Huh? Let's get the wheels turning.
Tax will be up to 61 cents a litre. Groceries are up 45% since 2015. And after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, even Liberal MPs agree.
Oh, my God.
Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time's up for this unpopular Liberal Prime Minister.
It lags for a second and then...
Prime Minister this morning, but there was one small hitch. They had to get written approval.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Prime Minister.
The chat's out of control.
Of speech. While these Liberals are busy fighting amongst themselves, Conservatives are focused on what's important to Canadians. Axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. As Conservatives,
like 500 messages in a minute.
thing that they have done, they are destroying Canada. But what's become increasingly clear is a whole bunch of Liberal MPs agree with us. This Liberal Prime Minister isn't worth the cost, isn't worth the corruption, and it's time to go.
All right. We're dialed in. We're ready. This is going to be a good one. Trudeau and Pierre step up to the plate, face to face, for the first time since the Liberal Revolt cabinet meeting that took place 30 minutes ago.
Process of receiving their security clearance. There's only one party leader in this chamber that chooses to close his eyes.
There's going to be a few asks
Foreign interference.
in today's stream, so stick with me. I'm not asking you to go buy stickers. I'm not asking you to support any sponsors. No. All I'm asking is for you to be prepared to throw those W's in the chat. That's all I'm asking. And I mean like and subscribe too. But those W's, baby. And sign the petition. Or send an email to the petition. Petition at stopmutingthemic.ca. All right, so there's a few asks today.
Conservative members said no to this.
There's a few asks.
When will the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada wake up, get his clearance, and start standing with Canadians against foreign interference?
Questions orales.
Oral questions. Questions orales. I believe the opposition to the next number is Canada. Pierre Poilievre.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Go, folks. Put them W's in the chat.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this Prime Minister, more costs, crime, corruption, and now more chaos. With 24 Liberal members of Parliament who want the Prime Minister to step down, even when the Bloc wants to keep this PM in power. Even if Liberals don't have trust in this PM, will they trigger an election so we can repair what he has broken?
There he is.
Prime Minister
Wow, they muted the microphone. I guess they're clapping in French. They're clapping in French. How do you clap in French?
The Liberal team, just like
what the hell was that? What the heck was that? He knows the petition is coming, so he's shushing. I can't contain my inner child. Oh my God. This is going to be such a good day.
I want to thank all members of this House for their rousing show of confidence. I have to say, the Liberal Party, as is the Liberal government, totally united on holding the Conservative Party to account.
The Conservatives are all standing up now, laughing.
Programs, cut services, cut initiatives that will help Canadians grow the economy, keep inflation down, and make sure there's a strong, prosperous future for all Canadians. That's what we're focused on. While Conservatives focus on petty politics, we'll stay focused on delivering for Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. That was a question in French, by the way, Mr. Speaker. 24 Liberal members recognize that this Prime Minister is not worth the cost, the crime, the corruption, and now the chaos. Finally, today, they needed to muzzle half of these members at the caucus, forcing some of them to go to the bathroom to send text messages to the journalists telling them what's going on at the caucus.
Oh.
The Liberal members know what Canadians have already knew, that the Prime Minister is not worth the cost, the crime, and the corruption. When will the elections be? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, while the Conservatives are concerned with division and personal attacks, we're focused on the fact that we have to deliver for Canadians, deliver dental care for seniors, deliver more daycare spots, deliver investments in a greener economy and creating jobs for the future. The Conservatives are offering austerity and cuts. That's not what Canadians need. We need a government to be here to invest in their future, and that's exactly what we're doing, because confident governments invest in their citizens, and that's exactly why our economy is improving so much.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of this Prime Minister, costs are high. Housing costs have doubled. The national debt has doubled. Housing costs are out of control, and the Parliament is paralyzed with corruption that the Prime Minister is trying to hide from Canadians. And now there are at least 24 Liberal members of Parliament who are saying that the Prime Minister needs to resign. In addition, immigration is out of control. He cannot fix what he's broken while he's facing a rebellion. Can he trigger an election right now? Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, all Canadians clearly see that the Conservative leader is only offering cuts and austerity and empty slogans. They need solutions, and that's why we're putting forth solutions for dental care, investments in a green economy, investments to attract worldwide companies in fintech through electric vehicles, AI, and quantitative technology. We're going to be here to invest in the future of this company and focused on the future, while the Conservatives just want to bring us back to the Stone Age.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, costs up, taxes up, crimes up, and according to 24 Liberal MPs, time is up. This Prime Minister has doubled housing costs, doubled the national debt, given us the worst economy in the G7. He's paralyzed Parliament with a cover-up of corruption, and 2 million people are lined up at food banks, but he cannot fix what he broke because his caucus is revolting. Will he call a carbon tax election today?
You know what to do, chat. Throw them W's down below.
Speaker, while the Leader of the Opposition is focused on politics, we're focused on delivering for Canadians the things that matter most, whether it's more money in their pockets with the Canada Carbon Rebate, more places at $10 a day childcare right across the country, dental care for seniors and more Canadians of all ages as we move forward to deliver things that are easing pressures on the pocketbooks and building a strong economy for everyone. This is the work that we're doing, that we will continue to do. While the Leader of the Opposition tosses around empty slogans and plays politics, we'll stay focused on the things that matter to Canadians.
Plays politics as a politician.
The Honourable Leader.
What an insult.
24 Liberal MPs went to his caucus today to tell him that he's not worth the crime, cost, or corruption. They wanted to tell him that he's doubled housing costs, doubled the national debt, sent 2 million people to the food banks, but he wouldn't let them. He silenced half of the dissidents. In fact, some were intimidated so much so that even Rosemary Barton, the Prime Minister's favorite journalist, said people don't have phones in the room and some people are going to the bathroom texting us. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister text those dissident Liberal MPs, tell them to come out of the bathroom and tell the whole world that he's not worth the cost?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, in our caucus, people have always been free to speak their mind and have different perspectives. What is interesting, Mr. Speaker, is nobody in the Conservative caucus seems to have spoken out when one of their members got an all-expenses-paid trip to an extreme anti-abortion church in Florida. Nobody spoke out. Well, one of the members on their front bench went and dined with white nationalists, far-right German nationalists, and nobody spoke up and is continuing to speak up when their leader refuses to get a security clearance so he can deal with foreign interference.
See their enthusiasm. It's going to fizzle out after today from the Liberal side.
The chair is, knowing that today is Wednesday, has been relatively tolerant of a lot of calls from both sides of the House. I'm going to ask members, please not take the floor until they are addressed by the Speaker, to do that so that we can hear the questions, we can hear the answers.
Hey, at least he didn't try to mute the microphone.
Baloy Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I think that it is more honourable to leave all the Liberal troubles to them. But I'll talk about another phenomena: intimidation, corporal punishment, and lack of confidence in science. Is the PM concerned that the situation at Bedford School in Montreal, because of religious intransigence, is concerning? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Leader knows full well that on this side of the House, we respect provincial jurisdiction with respect to education, but we're always going to be here to defend freedom of expression and to defend fundamental freedoms that all Canadians have rights to. And these are freedoms that ensure that we are a free, democratic, and open country with values that are always on the forefront. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, I understand that the Prime Minister has his thoughts somewhere else, but is he saying that forced religious education in a school and corporal punishment are freedom of expression of professors?
Oh, no.
Honourable Prime Minister. No, Mr. Speaker, that's not at all what I've said. I have underscored that administration of schools is under provincial jurisdiction, and we expect the province to take care of its jurisdiction. But we're always going to defend fundamental freedoms of all Canadians, and that includes children who have a right to be educated in a way that reflects our values as Canadians and Quebecers.
The Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
I recognize that the Prime Minister is distracted, but there's a recent survey that's come out that shows that over half of Canadians are having a hard time with the cost of groceries. Now, too many in this chamber are more worried about themselves than kids going to sleep hungry in our country. Why has this Prime Minister refused to take action on painful food prices?
Hear, hear, hear.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have taken action and will take more action. We move forward on increasing competition rules so that the Competition Bureau can go after people who are and companies that are gouging Canadians, at the same time as we're delivering more supports, whether it's with the National School Food Program that's putting more money in the pockets of families by giving them breaks on their groceries so kids can actually eat healthy foods at schools, or delivering a Canada carbon rebate. Unfortunately, that carbon rebate that puts more money in families' pockets has just seen the NDP pull their support from it, even though it's helping Canadians with affordability, and we will continue to be there to fight climate change.
Then I have the
Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Have you ever been to a grocery store?
That's a rare W for Jagmeet. Put a W down for him. That's pretty funny. I'll accept that. I will accept that. Have you ever been to a grocery store? What the heck? Why am I cheering for Jagmeet all of a sudden? That's pretty funny. That's funny, man. Don't get too used to it, folks. Don't get too used to it.
Order, please.
And don't you mute the mic, Fergus!
Invite the Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
I'll write another strong-worded letter.
From the top, and let me just encourage the Honourable Member and all Honourable Members to make sure that your questions and comments are directed through the Chair. The Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
Has the Prime Minister actually ever been to a grocery store?
People are losing hope.
It's funny, man. That's
the
funny.
Angus Reid study shows that over 40% of renters have given up on the dream of owning their own home. The Conservatives cut housing construction in Canada and let 800,000 affordable housing units disappear. The Liberals had 9 years. Why hasn't the Prime Minister repaired that damage? The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Both questions the leader of the NDP had. I've actually been to a grocery store with you, Mr. Speaker, in your riding a few years ago in Hull Elmer. And I've been to many grocery stores since.
Oh, my goodness.
Mr. Speaker, we have created a program to invest in housing, affordable housing across our country, with more than $900 million for Quebec, and we continue to invest to ensure affordable housing, while the Conservative Party is just offering cuts in housing programs. We're going to continue to invest to help Canadians with affordable housing.
Let's go, Pierre. Let's go, Pierre.
I'd like to reassure all members
Get the W's going, folks. Come on.
That, yes, the flame market is in my right. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister liked to go grocery shopping together, Mr. Speaker. And if you had, you would know that, of course, food prices have risen 36% faster in Canada than they did in the United States during the last 4 years, and that gap grew in line with the carbon tax. The leader of the NDP apparently likes to shop at Metro, for which his brother's company is the chief lobbyist. So maybe the leader of the NDP can tell us. 24 Liberal MPs have lost confidence in the Prime Minister. Will the leader of the NDP finally vote for a carbon tax election?
Wow.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there was
He's got the Freeland face, the fart-smelling face.
Let me reiterate that multiple analysts, economists, and the Parliamentary Budget Officer have indicated that lowering inflation has made it easier on Canadians, and the price on pollution that delivers the Canada carbon rebate to Canadians right across the country and puts more money in their pockets is actually helping Canadians with affordability. But if the Leader of the Opposition really wanted to help with affordability, he wouldn't have voted against dental care. He wouldn't have voted against a national school food program that's saving hundreds of dollars a year to parents right across the country.
Come on, Pierre.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, even Liberal MPs know now, because their constituents keep telling them, that the carbon tax is driving up the cost of food. They wanted to go to caucus today and tell the Prime Minister that Canadians are literally starving, some eating out of dumpsters because of the carbon tax. But he sent out his immigration minister to attack them, saying that they are, quote, garbage. What's garbage is the Prime Minister's record doubling housing costs, driving up food prices, and forcing people to eat out of dumpsters. Will he stop treating his own MPs and Canadians like garbage?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I think the leader of the Conservative Party shouldn't be bragging that none of his MPs have asked him to get a security clearance so that he can actually protect his party from foreign interference. That none of his MPs have spoken out. That having one of their members go down to Florida on an all-expenses-paid trip by an extreme anti-abortion church is just fine for all of their MPs. And that, quite frankly, none of them have any issue with a member on their front bench dining with a neo-Nazi. Mr. Speaker, I would hope some of his members in his caucus would speak up about some of the problems.
And I ask the Honourable Member from Wellington Halton Hills to please not speak out of turn repeatedly during this question. He's an honourable and very well-respected member. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister, who has a lifelong record of racist outbursts, is now coming unglued on the floor of the House of Commons. The question was about the 24 Liberal MPs in his caucus that are trying to speak out against his quadrupling of the carbon tax, not because they care about the cost of living of their constituents, but because they're worried they're going to lose the election. So if the Prime Minister is so confident in quadrupling the carbon tax, why won't he call a carbon tax election now?
We might see it, man. We might see the bloc.
Our price on pollution not only
put something together,
reduces emissions and helps fight climate change, but it grows the economy and investments, and it puts more money in the pockets of middle-class Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what we've seen from the Parliamentary Budget Officer is that Canada Carbon Rebate puts more money back in the pockets of Canadian families than it costs them in the federal price on pollution. And that is exactly what the Leader of the Opposition wants to cut. He wants to cut affordability for Canadians. He wants to cut the fight against climate change. That's not how you build a strong future.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Taxes and housing costs. Now, on that subject, the Prime Minister created a $4 billion so-called housing accelerator that gave hundreds of millions of dollars to big city politicians across the country. Toronto got the money, and construction went down 20%. Winnipeg got the money, construction went down 15%. Vancouver got the money, construction went down 19%. Ottawa got the money, construction went down 10%. Mr. Speaker, when I was the housing minister, we built 194,000 homes. Why won't he follow my common sense example?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Damn.
The member opposite was Stephen Harper's failed housing minister. He built 6 affordable housing units across the country. So we'll take no lessons from them on housing. They would rather pick fights rather than invest in the kinds of changes that are improving density and zoning, using public lands, accelerating red tape so that people can get more affordable housing built quicker right across the country. It takes actions and investments to build up this country. That's exactly what we're doing in responsible ways. All he's offering is fights with the provinces and municipalities and cuts to services Canadians rely on.
I mean, we got to fix our deficits, dude.
Mr. Speaker, he just accidentally told the truth. He said he's accelerating red tape. Well, he sure is doing that, but he's not accelerating his math lessons. He's always admitted that he's been bad with numbers. I have the documents from Stats Canada's website. That's part of his government that shows that in 2015, there were 461,000 housing completions. And the average rent was only $973 for a one-bedroom, half of what it is today. Given that I delivered so many affordable homes, why won't the Prime Minister follow my common sense plan to build the homes, not the bureaucracy?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it says something about the level of confidence the previous Prime Minister had in that member when Stephen Harper used to say the federal government has no responsibility around housing and then asks him to be their housing minister. That's perhaps why he delivered only 6 affordable homes over the course of their years in government. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we have stepped in densification, in cutting red tape, in creating more housing starts right across the country, working with municipalities and provinces to solve this housing crisis, while all he offers is cuts and breaks to wealthy landlords.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it is this Liberal Prime Minister that said a year ago that the federal government has no responsibility for housing. Right. Of course, he said that after he had completed the doubling of housing costs. And then, speaking of housing ministers, he went on to point the guy who had lost track of 1 million people coming into the country, who had allowed a 300% increase in population growth against the warnings about housing from his own department. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister plans to reverse and swallow himself whole on immigration. Will he complete the job by firing his housing minister?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've continued to step up and invest in housing by working with provinces and municipalities right across the country, because of course we know that actions of previous governments of Conservative and Liberal stripes underinvested for many years in housing, which is why we're in the situation we're in, a situation not dissimilar to many advanced democracies around the world. That is exactly why we have stepped up to put money on the table for municipalities as they change their densification rules and zoning laws to accelerate the process of building housing and continue to solve this housing crisis that Canadians are facing from coast to coast to coast.
That's right.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly.
It'll come back to Pierre, don't worry.
I thought we had one other before me. The Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, given the facts that were announced, does he not recognize Ottawa is trying to demolish Quebec's efforts with respect to its values and secularism? It's encouraging division, and it's even more concerning in schools. There's a desire to finance the challenge of Bill 21 on secularism at the Supreme Court, and it is a divisive and serious intrusion. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, we are a government that will always defends the fundamental rights of Canadians, and it's a principle that guides us as a party and also as a country. Yes, we are very concerned by the issue of children who are experiencing suffering that is unacceptable in schools, and that is why we expect the Quebec government to look at this. At the same time, we're always going to defend fundamental freedoms of all Canadians. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. This ambiguity is very concerning, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister should clearly confirm that regardless of the causes that seem to be justifying this violent and oppressive behavior, an indoctrination of children at schools, it should be condemned. And the attitude of this government, his multiculturalist obsession and a desire to challenge our secularism laws and other institutions that encourage this is an important danger. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, I'll even be clearer.
You'll be clearer, then let me be clear.
At this school, this is absolutely unacceptable. But using exceptional cases like this to attack Quebec's diversity and attack the various cultures that unite our country is also unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. We're always going to defend cultural diversity. We'll always defend well-being at home, while we defend the rights and liberties of children every time. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister is admitting that his immigration policies have been totally incompetent. In fact, the ratio of new people to new homes reached its highest level in recorded history last year after his then immigration minister, now housing minister, ignored the warnings of his own department. According to a new Concordia University report, the rent is expected to rise to $7,500 in Vancouver and $5,500 in Toronto if the trajectory continues. Will he reverse course now?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the great advantages of Canada in the world, and of Canadians in the world, is that we continue to be a country that understands that immigration is a source of opportunity and growth and richness for this country. One of the other great advantages we have is we have an immigration system that is able to adjust to different realities. In the years after the pandemic, there was a need for more temporary workers, there was a desire for more international students, and we let more in, working with the provinces and businesses across the country. As we see the situation shift, as the labor market shifts, we're making changes to the immigration system so that we can keep its support.
That's right.
They are not happy with that.
The opposition.
Mr. Speaker, there's nothing compassionate about it. Inviting people without a place for them to live or health care for them to have or jobs that provide them with paychecks. He has destroyed our immigration system through his own personal incompetence and destroyed a 150-year common sense consensus between Liberals and Conservatives on that subject. He cannot fix what he broke on immigration, housing, or anything else because he's busy fighting his own caucus. Why won't he call a carbon tax election so that we can restore Canada's promise, where anyone who comes here and works hard can have a good life, a safe street, and a warm home?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the work we are focused on is on the middle class and people working hard to join it, and we have delivered over these past years. And in these times of global strife and pressures, that is exactly what we are doubling down on investing in building homes, investing in strengthening our immigration system so that it can match the challenges we're in right now, in moving forward on putting more money in people's pockets, even as we create strong jobs and growth for the future. The Bank of Canada just reduced interest rates because inflation is now down to low inflation once again. We are managing this country responsibly. We're continuing to invest in its future.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canada makes every single one of us a promise. If you work hard, you get a good life. That promise, like everything else after 9 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, is broken. Now, he's broken countless promises, but this one is different. This wasn't his promise to break. It belonged to all of us. Now that he has destroyed the immigration, the housing market, the cost of living, will he call a carbon tax election so that we can bring home Canada's promise?
Wow. That deserves some W's down in the chat, folks.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, we see the Leader of the Opposition pushing a brokenist vision of Canada that is simply not aligned with the reality. Yes, Canadians are struggling like people are all around the world after years of high inflation and disrupted supply chains and global conflicts has weighed heavily on everyone around the world. But Canadians continue to see opportunities. Canadians continue to see investments by a government that believes in them, whether it's investing in green jobs of the future or investing in programs and supports like dental and childcare that make a difference that the Conservatives continue to vote against.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. Or do we have? Do you have any note?
For Pierre.
I apologize to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, brokenist. It's not even a word. He's even breaking the English language.
What the heck?
He broke the housing market by doubling the costs. He broke the the cost of food by jacking up the carbon tax and increasing prices 36% faster than in the United States. He's broken our immigration system. He's breaking the bank with his doubling of the debt. Even his own caucus members think that everything is broken. Why don't we have a carbon tax election to decide?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, the Leader of the Opposition is focused on exploiting the struggles of Canadians that are very real. He's not offering a single solution to support them. He's offering to take away the Canada carbon rebate that is putting more money in their pockets and fighting climate change successfully while it grows the economy. He's offering to cancel the dental care program that has helped close to 1 million Canadians already access dental care. He's planning on canceling the child care that has brought child care costs down to $10 a day in so many parts of the country and created spaces everywhere. He stands against the programs and supports for Canadians, while at the same time he says Canada's broken.
That's right.
The Honourable Member from Burnaby South.
The global community is shocked. This week, Israeli Minister Ben-Gvir called for Gaza to be emptied of Palestinians. He also called for expanding illegal settlements in Gaza. In fact, his colleague, Minister Smotrich, said that starving civilians is justified. Shameful. Enough is enough. What will it take for the Prime Minister to impose severe sanctions on Netanyahu and his extremist ministers?
Wow.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the violence in the Middle East.
MPs are definitely not united on this topic.
Cannot continue to see civilians killed, innocents wiped out, communities destroyed. We need to make sure there is a ceasefire in Gaza and in Lebanon. We need to see the path once again towards a two-state solution where a peaceful Israel lives alongside a peaceful Palestinian state. That is Canada's position. That continues to be what we fight for every single day, to bring a global consensus together, to protect lives, to get humanitarian aid in, to release hostages, and to end this conflict once and for all.
I'm going to ask, again, all members, including the member from...
Yeah, he stumbled through that one.
...speak out when he does not have the floor. The Honourable Member from Edmonton Strathcona.
That was an appalling answer, and the Prime Minister needs to sanction Ben-Gvir and Netanyahu. Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, 650,000 Albertans don't have a family doctor. In Edmonton, hospital wards are 155% overstocked. But instead of addressing this crisis, Danielle Smith and the Alberta Conservatives are going to Uberize the problem. Shame. So enough is enough. Can you tell us, when will Albertans be able to deserve the health care? When will this government finally stand up for public health care in this country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I agree entirely that Conservative governments across this country have weakened our public health care system, and that is why we are continuing to demand investments in public health care, investments that will create more family doctors, that will reduce wait times. We've put money on the table for provinces willing to step up and actually deliver clear data and results to Canadians. We're going to continue to defend Canada's public health care system from those conservative ideologues and premiers and politicians who want to weaken our healthcare system and not deliver for Canadians.
That's right.
L'honorable député de London West.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents have been working hard to pay their bills as global inflation has driven up the cost of living. The Conservative Party...
Wow, is she the only one? That's the first poppy that I see. Is she the only one wearing a poppy?
Canadians into thinking that our country is broken. Even though our government has been providing relief to Canadians through dental care, $10 a day child care, free diabetes medication, and much more. Can the Prime Minister update all Canadians today's good news and set the record straight?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for London West for her question and for her hard work. Today, the Bank of Canada announced a big cut to interest rates by half a point, bringing interest rates down to 3.75%. Canada was the first G7 country to cut rates and is now the first to do so for a fourth time. All the Conservative leader has is his little performances because he knows that our responsible economic plan is working. Right.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Après 9 ans de ce Premier ministre.
After 9 years of this Liberal government, the cost of housing in Quebec has skyrocketed. In the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region, the cost of a house has gone up by 76%. In Trois-Rivières, the cost has gone up by $190,000. And in Drummondville, the cost has gone up by $204,000. That's an increase of 124%. Meanwhile, what has the Prime Minister done? He has broken our system. He has printed billions and billions of dollars, and he's preventing new constructions. Will he do something about these policies? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader is using these challenges that are facing Quebecers and all Canadians to feed his own political career, but he's not offering any solution to the problem. That's why we have invested $900 million with the Government of Quebec to speed up housing construction. We will continue to work with municipalities and the province of Quebec to ensure that there is more housing, rentals, homes, affordable housing. We will continue to work hard while he picks fights with the mayors of Quebec City and Montreal. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There we go.
I have already published my common sense plan, which is to offer incentives to municipalities to issue permits, cut red tape, free up lots for construction, and to cut taxes for those who are building housing throughout the country, while also controlling population growth so that it's under the growth in housing supply. That is my common sense plan. Will the Prime Minister let Quebecers choose that common sense plan with an election? The Honourable Prime Minister, we all know that the Leader of the Opposition doesn't care about expert opinion, and it's pretty obvious why. All housing and economic experts have looked at his plan and have said very openly that it is gobbledygook. There is nothing in his plan that will do anything about the housing crisis. Once again, he has just offered empty slogans, not real solutions. Quebecers, like all Canadians, deserve a government that will continue to invest in housing, to invest in their future, instead of simply offering cuts and austerity, which is all that the Conservative leader knows. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Well, the real experts here are people who build housing. Quebec's Builders Association have stated that my plan is the best to get housing built. It will encourage construction. It will encourage municipalities to cut red tape. And on the other hand, we see the results of 9 years of this Liberal government, where the cost of housing has gone up more sharply than in any other G7 country. And it's the second worst in the 36 OECD countries. Will the Prime Minister finally adopt a common sense plan like ours? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this Conservative leader's approach has been to make personal attacks against the mayors of Montreal and Quebec City, insult the intelligence of Quebecers who have elected progressive municipal governments who are investing in affordable housing, who are investing in a better future. He is simply running around insulting people, trying to score political points. We work hard every day in partnership with municipalities and provinces to deliver concrete results. Housing, economic growth, results for everyone. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Canada had to issue an emergency rate cut to salvage a collapsing economy, an economy that has fallen more in the last 5 years.
I mean, it's true.
Other G7 country, our GDP per capita is smaller today than it was a decade ago, while the American has grown by 18%. The gap between the Canada and U.S. per person GDP is now at its worst in a century, leading to homelessness, helplessness, and hunger on the streets. Why won't the Prime Minister call a carbon tax election so that we can fix the economy he broke?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Every now and then, Mr. Speaker, despite all his efforts, we see a little edge of the tinfoil hat peeking out once again from the leader of the
Wow.
as he continues his attacks on the Bank of Canada, on the independence of our financial
What a dismissive
the reality is,
freaking
Mr.
piece
Speaker,
of
we
garbage.
worked hard as a government to bring down inflation so that the Bank of Canada can bring down interest rates faster than just about any other country of our peer countries around the world, because we know that bringing down interest rates is what's going to help Canadians, even as we continue to invest in programs like dental and pharmacare and childcare that the Conservatives are voting against and delivering for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has said that the Bedford school case is a mere isolated anecdote, but it's been going on for 7 years. It's very well documented that there are cases of harassment, bullying, religious indoctrination. Does the Prime Minister know that 3 other schools may be involved? And does he know that some parents are withdrawing their children from schools because they are worried? They are worried about religious indoctrination and children being discouraged from obeying Quebec law. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Not just the religious indoctrination, also that
As a-
Soji stuff out here in BC.
Speaker, as a former teacher, I can vouch for the fact that it is essential to protect our children, to protect the values that we care about. For example, freedom. I am very concerned about the reports mentioned by the leader of the Bloc Québécois. And we all expect that the competent authorities, in this case the province, will quickly address the issue to protect children under their care. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, when Adil Shalkawi gets involved in a situation, we know that someone responsible needs to take over. Even though the Prime Minister is pretending to show respect for provincial jurisdiction, well, much good may it do him. Here we see that there has been federal intervention against our secularism legislation, which involves interfering with Quebec jurisdiction. The Bloc Québécois has stated that it should be impossible to spread hate speech on religious grounds. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we know that the government of Quebec needs to take up its responsibility in the area of education and protect kids. It needs to ensure that all fundamental freedoms are protected. That's what Quebecers and all Canadians expect as well from the federal government. And that is why we are taking action to protect basic freedoms while also expecting Quebec to do its job to protect children in its schools.
The opposition.
After 9 years, this NDP Liberal Prime Minister is not worth the human misery that Canadians are suffering. There are now 1,400 homeless encampments in Ontario alone. The City of Toronto admits that it's run out of homeless shelter space and will have to turn people out into the snow throughout the coming winter. There's a Facebook group called the Dumpster Diving Network, and people are lined up in the rain for hours for rotten potatoes. Is this the Great Depression?
Wow.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've all seen the cozy relationship that the Leader of the Opposition has with a number of Conservative premiers across the country. I would ask him to use his significant influence over those Conservative premiers to ask them to accept the money that the federal government is putting on the table to help with homeless encampments. A month ago, we asked each province and territory to partner with us to help find shelter for those living in encampments. Alberta, Ontario, and Saskatchewan have not yet formally responded to us to end encampments in their respective jurisdictions. I ask the Leader of the Opposition if he cares about this indeed, to stop playing politics and start up.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The problem with that blame game is that, in fact, the worst homeless encampments are in NDP-governed British Columbia.
Yep.
In fact, what the Prime Minister has done is take the radical socialist policies that led to those encampments and those massive overdose crises nationwide. Take, for example, the drug dens. The Prime Minister continues to push taxpayer-funded opioids on the population, which has led to 47,000 overdose deaths, more than died in the Second World War as Canadians. Will he reverse these policies?
Goodness.
Prime Minister.
I just have to pause for a moment on the incredible irony of watching the Leader of the Opposition in this House accuse anyone of playing the blame game. He has made his entire career as leader and 20 years as a parliamentarian about playing the blame game. It's about time he started taking responsibility for the members of his caucus and take responsibility for putting forward solutions that will actually help Canadians instead of offering cuts and pointing fingers and empty slogans.
Hey, at least they maintained their enthusiasm for the whole thing.
The NDP Liberal government is acting like, quote, a drug lord. Those are the words of Masha Krupp, a mother who lost her daughter to an overdose. That daughter, Larissa, was given taxpayer-funded opioids. Now her son is addicted to the same government-provided drugs. This radical policy, which this Prime Minister pioneered and expanded with the help of the NDP, has taken thousands of lives. Will he stop acting like, quote, a drug lord and put the money into treatment and recovery?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we're using all the tools at our disposal to save lives and keep communities safe for everyone. Meanwhile, Conservatives are choosing to use struggling people as political props to promote fear and spread misinformation. From the very beginning, we've been there to work on an evidence-based, compassionate and public safety approach. We have and always will be there to work with provinces and territories on approaches focused on saving lives and ending this crisis.
L'honorable député de Laval-les-Îles.
The honourable member for Laval-les-Îles.
Man, Trudeau is so screwed. There's so many things he's done wrong and none that he's done right.
Canadians. Canadians deserve leaders who will take all necessary measures to protect them. However, the Conservative leader is simply finding excuses to avoid his responsibilities. He is refusing to get his security clearance. Can the Prime Minister explain why it's important that the Conservative leader step up by getting his top secret clearance?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Je remercie le député de Laval.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister, I'd like to thank the member for this important question. It's a question that many Canadians are wondering about, and in fact, many Conservative MPs even are asking themselves this question. The Leader of the Opposition is trying to score points on the matter of foreign interference, and yet he is refusing to get his security clearance at a time when more than ever, all party leaders should take these threats seriously. He is not showing serious leadership. Canadians deserve better. What does the Conservative leader have to hide? Why does he not get his security clearance?
Because he's going to be muzzled.
Order.
Don't you dare mute the microphone.
I'm going to ask all members.
Do it. Mute the mic. Do it.
All members not to take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. I've asked the honourable member from Halton Hills, who's a very
mute the mic
member in this House, please not take the floor.
Come on,
not take
mute the mic
floor, unless recognized by the Speaker.
He's read my petition, you son of a gun. Mute the mic.
That goes both ways.
Mute the mic, I dare you.
The honourable member, the honourable leader of the opposition.
For 9 years, this NDP Liberal Prime Minister is not worth the cost, crime, or corruption. We now know that his deficit this year will be $7 billion, or 20% bigger than his finance minister claimed in the budget only 6 months ago. Where's the money going? Well, we know that $400 million was directed by Liberal appointees to their own companies in what involved 186 conflicts of interest. Now the Prime Minister has paralyzed Parliament for 2 weeks to cover it up and deny police the evidence. Will he hand it over to the cops so that we can put the bad guys in jail and get our money back?
Yeah.
Before I invite the Right Honourable Prime Minister to respond, I'm going to ask the Honourable Member from Sunshine-Bay to please not take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we just heard very impassioned and understandable outbursts from the member for Wellington Halton Hills, who is concerned about foreign interference and the impact. What is something
He's getting heckled.
that worries me is that he can't have confidence that his leader, the leader of the Conservative Party, is actually going to do the work to take foreign interference seriously and get the security clearance necessary to be able to protect the members of his caucus from foreign interference. Why is the leader of the Conservative Party not getting a security clearance?
So funny, because it would muzzle him. You dorks. Mute the mic! Mute the mic! I dare you! He's read the petition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Because this Prime Minister will not gag me the way he's gagging his 24...
Put some W's down for that. Oh my goodness.
Our country into a playground for foreign interference. He's unleashed crime, chaos on our streets, and corruption inside our government. My question, which he's erratically trying to avoid, is why does he keep covering up the criminal evidence in a $400 million green slush fund scandal? Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is about to get up one more time in this House to say some words. I recommend that at this point he choose those words to apply to explaining to Canadians why he will not get the necessary security clearance from our national intelligence agencies to be able to protect not just his party and their institutions and their members, but all Canadians. Any leader who wants to take national security seriously should be able to listen to the information that CSIS wants to share them instead of covering his ears and going la 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 like
la 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 la.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member from Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you the briefing the Leader of the Opposition will take. He'll take the same kind of briefing the Washington Post got on classified information from the National Security and Intelligence Advisor and the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. He'll take the same briefing that I got under Section 12.1 of the CSIS Act, threat reduction measures to reduce threats to the security of Canada. He'll take the same classified briefing that the Prime Minister has been all too willing to give to this House when it suits him, such as the classified information he revealed about Mr. Najjar's killing a year ago and other classified information revealed in the last several weeks about India. That's the kind of briefing the Leader of the Opposition will take.
Wow! Tout fini! the mic! Mute the mic, I dare you! You son of a gun! Come on! You know you want to. You know you want to. Mute the mic. Mute the mic. Mute the mic.
Order! Order!
Mute the mic. Nuke the mic.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mute the mic.
Mr. Speaker.
Lakelands, the Honourable Member from Lakelands.
What about the Minister of Labour?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we just saw an excellent example of the partisan lengths Conservatives will go.
He's read my petition. He's read my petition. 100% he's read my petition.
Their leader refuses to take national security questions seriously. He has repeatedly refused offers by our national security agencies to give him the necessary clearances to be able to see the scope and breadth of threats to Canadians through foreign interference. He pretends to take issues of national security seriously, but it's only for partisan purposes, not for protecting Canadians. Shame on him.
He's read my petition.
Order! L'honorable député de la Chine-la-Salle.
The honourable member for Dorval, Lachine LaSalle.
Mr. Speaker, the public inquiry into foreign interference has made clear that every member of this House has a responsibility to fight against foreign interference in Canada. This is especially true of party leaders. It is imperative that all leaders be equipped with the necessary security clearances and information so that they can make responsible decisions to protect our precious democracy. The Conservative leader refuses to do so. Can the Prime Minister shed light on why it is important to get such clearance? Thank you.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I thank the member for Dorval, Lachine, LaSalle. Canadians should be alarmed by the Conservative leader choosing to ignore risks to his own party and to our country. And his excuses have all been dismissed by nonpartisan national security experts. So if he has nothing to hide, what is he afraid of? Why won't he get his security clearances? Let me put these in terms that I think the Leader of the Opposition might actually understand. He needs to get the clearance, take the briefing, and protect the country.
Not all of the Liberals are standing up. It's so funny.
Order!
Mute the mic.
Order.
Mute the mic. Mute the mic.
The Honourable Member from Vancouver, Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the U.S. government has fined TD Bank over $3 billion after they pled guilty to money laundering charges. Wow. This case raises serious questions about federal oversight of Canadian banks and undermines our global reputation. Working Canadians have to play by the rules, but when banking executives put profits above the law, this government looks the other way. Exactly. What have the Liberals done to address the repeated criminal actions of TD Bank?
Yeah. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We are, of course, very concerned by the actions of TD Bank in the United States. We make sure every single day that banks in Canada behave by following all the rules. We have continued to strengthen financial oversight, and we're making sure that there is full accountability for those responsible for this wrongdoing in the United States.
Hear, hear.
L'honorable député de Richmond.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, I have a simple question that just requires a little bit of political action. When someone goes to Tim Hortons and buys half a dozen donuts, they don't have to pay for taxes. But if they instead buy 6 sugar-free health bars, they have to pay taxes. Because of this unfair rule, people are paying more for healthy products, and it also hurts our local businesses. They end up in an unfair fight against multinational companies. Despite many meetings and asking many questions in this House over the last 2 years, nothing has been done. Will the Prime Minister tell us if he will ask his Minister of Finance to do something about this situation? Please.
The
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member. I'd like to thank him for raising this issue. We have spoken about this issue within our government, and we will continue to study his proposal. It seems like a very common sense one, and we will continue to see if it's a good idea and move forward together. Thank you.
Comme il est 15h26.
As it is 3:27, the House will now proceed to taking a deferred report.
Tout fini. C'est tout fini. All right, folks. That's it. I want to remind everyone that there's a very important email that is linked down below in the live chat. But I'll say it again right now. It is petition@stopmutingthemic.ca. If you want an email notification about what this petition when it's ready to go, then send an email to that. Send a message to that email, and we're going to keep you in the loop. I'll put it again down below in the description. Just make sure that it's my House of Canada verified with a checkmark channel that you're sending, that you're copying and pasting that email. This is okay. This is gonna be huge. The biggest. It's the biggest. It's gonna be huge. The biggest. It's the biggest petition. Folks, the petition's been approved. It's ready. It's ready. We're going to be doing a campaign about it. So just stay tuned. All right? Stay tuned for a video on this channel. Stay tuned for a video on MSB. It's coming. We're coming for that mute mic button. The mute mic button shall cease to exist. C'est tout fini. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This was awesome. This was a hell of a live stream. We went an hour before I normally do or something of the sorts. But there's a lot happening. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you turn bell notifications. Make sure you go over to MSB because, hey, it's coming. It's happening. Okay? It's happening. And, yeah, stay tuned, folks. Stay freaking tuned. Peace and love, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for all the super chats. God, it's freaking crying out loud. All right. Hold on a second. I didn't do it yesterday. I'll do it today. Sorry. I'm in a hurry to end the stream because I got to make a video. Saver with the 2. Thank you. Carolyn with the membership. Jim Smith with the 279. Saver with the 2. Matthew Galligan with the new membership and the 2. Jordan with the 5. Just me, Nicole with the 5. Thank you. I sense your frustration. I hear you loud and clear. I appreciate your message. Matthew with the membership. Maurice. That's not a name you see very often anymore with the 699. Thank you. Ryan Moore with the 2. Canadians for Trump. Matthew again with the 2 with the W. JL with the 5 US. And Trudeau was the... I can't say that. Nice try. But thank you. Johnny Boy with the 5. I love how the Liberals keep bringing up dental and childcare. Yep. They failed, man. They keep trying to promote these failed programs. And then Matthew Galligan, again with the 2, with just Trudeau mumbling and jumbling. Arrow with the 5. As a new father and only earner right now in my home, not a single Liberal policy has helped me. Thank you, Arrow. Thank you for that. And that is very true. The Liberals have screwed this country. And it's, I feel that, bro. I feel that. Stephen Pittman with a $6.99 with a super sticker. Bravo. Thank you. Jim Smith with a $6.99. God, if I hear Trudeau, he's putting in more money in my pocket when he is not. Yup. Matthew with the 5 saying Justin Trudeau's tinfoil hat has become an entire mask. We know he loves his masks. Zach with the new membership. Nancy with the $13.99. And Bree with the $2.99. Thank you. There was another one from, where did it go? I don't see it. It was like a $13 or $20 something. It's gone. I don't see it. It's not on my end. The YouTube masters have taken it away. But nonetheless, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for wishing everyone, or thank you everyone for wishing my daughter a happy birthday. It's her 2nd birthday today. So I really, really appreciate that. Someone says, I'm not getting the proper email. So I've listed it down in the chat. I'll do it again. It's petition@stopmutingthemic.ca. Petition@stopmutingthemic.ca. I'll spam it in the chat. There you go, folks. We're gonna make a change. We're gonna make a change here in Canadian politics. It's about to happen. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the happy birthdays. Thank you for all the W's. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you to all the new members. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for signing the petition when it does launch. Peace and love, everybody.